The Doctor looked from the Brigadier to the shore. All in all, he was quite looking forward to his stay on Earth. Naturally, he wouldn't be there for long. In spite of the Time Lords, he'd soon manage to get the TARDIS working and be off on his travels. For instance, he could try reversing the polarity of the neutron flow in the dematerialization circuits. He was brought out of his daydream by the Brigadier's voice. Well, Doctor? Ah, yes, a name, he thought. Just for the time he was there. No question of telling them his real name, of course. Time Lord names have an almost mystic importance, and are usually kept closely guarded secrets. Anyway, they'd never be able to pronounce it. A name, thought the Doctor. Something simple, dignified, and modest. He didn't want to draw attention to himself. The Doctor's eyes brightened. He'd got it. The very thing. He turned to the waiting Brigadier. Smith, said the Doctor decisively. Dr. John Smith. And that was the end of Doctor Who and the Auton Invasion, the novelisation of Jon Pertwee's first TV story, Spearhead from Space. But what happened after that? Well, I hear you say, Doctor Who and the Silurians, or Doctor Who and the Cave Monsters, depending on your preference, happened after that. But I say nay. Big Finish will come up with their own little story slotted in between the two, which riffs on those titles once again. It's Doctor Who and the Brain Train by Richard James and Nicholas Briggs, a 7-parter released in February 2025. What did we think of this one, Ben?
Well, we loved Nicholas Briggs's last foray into season 7 with the Annihilators, and Intelligence of War was brilliant. And so we've got a good track record. This one, I think, falls flat in certain areas.
It was a very weird one. It wasn't quite what I was expecting. I feel like there's not many details out there on what this story quite is, so I didn't know what I was expecting in many ways. But while listening to it, I definitely felt myself thrown at times by, do I like this? Oh, I'm enjoying that. Oh, I don't know about that. Oh, that was pretty good. That's a neat cliffhanger. Oh, are we really going here? Oh, that's a bit of technobabble too far, isn't it?
Yeah, I think this story subverts what you expect a season 7 story to be. When you read the synopsis, you think, okay, it sounds a bit like the Big Finish story, Rise of New Humans, a little bit of
Mm.
Ghosts of Endspace, a little bit of a TV comic vibe to it,
Yeah,
and
I
then
think
it's
a
sort of all
bit of
mashed.
Mind of Evil as well. People were worrying that it was going to be a carbon copy of Mind of Evil when they first read the synopsis, but it's definitely not that.
No, and I think you've mashed all those elements and tried to push it into like a season 7 cookie cutter, and this is
Mm.
what you kind of get.
Yeah, it's like we say, a weird one because I enjoy a lot of it,
Hmm.
but I don't know how I feel about it as a whole. And I feel like I enjoyed the journey more than the destination. There's a good mystery here, but it's not so good when it's solved.
I think that's the thing. This story only has the mystery. The key thing Nick Briggs said in The Annihilators, to keep a 7-part story engaging, you need gear changes to sort of push the story to the next level, like the Plague in the Silurians, the Doctor going to the parallel universe. This story doesn't have a gear change as such. It's very much the same level throughout.
Yeah, it's all pretty much set in this Scottish castle where there's this symposium being held on this new revolutionary treatment for dementia to cure dementia patients by putting this headset on and reaching into those locked away corners of their minds. But of course, it's being hijacked by some malevolent force, and you don't know quite who to trust. And yeah, I mean, starting off, Scottish Castle, always a good setting for a Doctor Who story. It's going much more classic Gothic than it is post-nuclear industrial Gothic, like season 7 usually goes for. That is a phrase coined by Stephen Noonan there, by the way, that perfectly sums up the vibe that most of season 7 and a lot of, Quatermass and Quatermass-inspired things have going for them. This doesn't have any of that, which is fine. I think it's good to go for something different every once in a while. This story doesn't need that, but it does leave you wondering, where's the season 7 here sometimes? Because you can
Yeah.
have it in other ways, but I don't know if it has it in those ways. The threat in this one doesn't feel very season 7-ish.
It feels more comic.
Which I suppose is maybe, like you say, where their influence was driving from this.
Yeah, I mean the cover's an inspiration of the Zeron invasion. So there's that. But I think marketing this as in between Spearhead and Silurians doesn't help the story with the character beats the story has, because the Doctor vanishes, which that wouldn't have happened in season 7 when you've got a leading man like Pertwee. He would not have been out of it. And you have a real beautiful moment between the Brig and Liz talking about the Doctor. You think, oh, that's really sweet. I like the sentiment. But then you think, hang on, these characters don't know each other yet. They seem too familiar with each other. So it doesn't quite land. The third Doctor is a rogue element at this point. He wants to get out. Why would he come back to this castle?
I mean, why are they still trusting him
Yeah.
so much? You know, you have that whole thing in Spearhead of the Brigadier keeping the key from the Doctor. It would have been nice to, obviously, you know, there is more of a trust building by the end of Spearhead, but I think it feels like it's already built up to the point it's at for the rest of the Pertwee era.
Yeah.
You know, if you're gonna set it as the third Doctor's second story, use that more, like what Psychodrome did with the fifth Doctor, where it was that TARDIS team's second story. You know, they were characters who didn't really know each other there. They were still getting used to each other. It would have been interesting to explore something similar rather than, I think you put it best as them being a clique.
Yeah.
They're already at that level. Whereas I feel like it would have been far more interesting if you're going to set a story at this point to see them come together a bit more.
And by the end of it, yeah, they've become that sort of tightly knitted sort of family unit.
Yeah, exactly. But problem is they start off very much like that as well. So
because they're going on a jolly on the Caledonian Sleeper. Like, it's all laughs and giggles, isn't it? Whereas there needs to be friction there. I think if you had a little bit of that friction there, I think that would have been more season 7.
You have the odd moment, but after, like, you got the Brig telling the Doctor to like it or lump it when they're sharing a bunk together. But that's about it.
Yeah.
Like, you could have had more of that in the actual plot of the story rather than it just being one-off moments here and there. I did quite like the removal of the Doctor for a while, though. I think it very much allowed Liz and the Brigadier to shine in their respective investigative aspects.
I think that's when the story was probably at its strongest for me, with that sort of mystery, with these sort of people being taken out of the castle who've been gone through the process.
Yeah. How was Tim for you in this one? You had some choice words to say about his performance back in October when we reviewed the Quintessence.
I mean, he gets to do something a little bit very on brand for Pertwee in this, playing.
I don't know how on brand for season 7 it was, but
no, not very season 7. Yeah, I am hearing bits of the character. It's interesting going back to the Annihilators, where there was more of, I don't know if there was a filter there, but there was more of a gravelness to Tim's Doctor in that than you get in this one, really. So I don't know.
I suppose he's younger in this one, technically.
Yeah, true.
I enjoyed like the moments where he's laughing on the train.
Yeah, have a little chuckle
up a bit. Yeah, I think that felt very Pertwee to me. He's still going strong, and yeah, of course, Daisy Ashford and
brilliant
John Coleshaw both doing brilliant there, and I think both using that time they get to shine very effectively. Yeah.
I think it allows for a more open character for the Brig to be, I don't want to say emotionally vulnerable, but to see a different side to the Brig in a way with it.
He's being treated as a character more than just a military stand-in figure, like he sometimes can be in the Pertwee era. Supporting characters-wise, you got a decent bunch there. You do have one who sort of feels like a lesser Liz Shaw clone at times.
Yes.
On the whole, I quite like the Professor Mark Elstob's character.
Oh, right, yeah,
Yeah, he's. I mean, very similar voice to the one he uses for. Who's that character in Friend of the Family?
Is it Hugo?
Hugo. That's it. I was thinking Hargreaves. I knew it was a H, but
Yeah.
Hargreaves is Fifth Doctor. Aquitaine there. But yeah, he's using that voice, which is such a wonderful voice.
Mm.
Yeah, I think he was probably a standout character despite the limited screen time, audio time, voice time,
Yeah,
limited presence he has.
Mm.
Yeah. I didn't think much of the threat in this. I think it becomes a bit too technobabbly. Like I say, the mystery behind the threat is more interesting than when the threat is actually revealed.
Yeah, I can agree with that. There doesn't seem to be much of it.
Hmm. Yeah, which is funny for a seven-parter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, it's not too chunky a seven-parter.
It's a quick listen.
Yeah, it's the longest one they've done, though, as a seven-parter.
Okay.
But I'm pretty sure something like The Quintessence is longer overall, despite being a six-parter.
Yeah, I think because this is sort of bite-sized. I think the longest episode is episode 4, which is 29 minutes.
Yeah, that's the one.
Um,
So, yeah, I think lengthwise, it works out all right. But like you say, it doesn't have that gear change partway through to kick it up to another level. It's very much the same throughout,
mhm.
despite my feelings on it changing constantly while listening.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Overall, I had a good time. I enjoyed the journey. I feel like we've been more negative in the review, but
Mhm.
on the
I
whole,
think
do
because we
feel
know the era so
positive.
well and we know what this range is capable of and the
Yeah.
standard the season 7 stuff has, because I think this is the weak link in the Big Finish 7-parters.
Yeah, and season 7 as a whole, you got Unzal Incursion, the Annihilators, and Intelligence for War so far, and I'd rank them all above this one.
Yeah,
I think
I
if
agree.
you have not picked up any of the Third Doctor adventures, or specifically the season 7 ones, and you want, that particular flavor of Doctor Who, particularly with season 7 on Blu-ray on the horizon, if you're looking for a little bit more of that, this is the one I'd recommend least out. I'd say go for something like the Annihilators or Unzal Incursion.
I mean, one of our comments is with previous season 7 stories is you can hear the film grain. You don't get this in this story.
No, sadly not. It's just it doesn't hit quite the same, but it is still enjoyable. Is
Yeah,
what I would say.
I still enjoyed the ride, like you say, but yeah,
Mm.
it's something very different to what I thought we were going into.
Yeah, it feels fairly Pertwee era, but just not season 7 specific.
Yeah,
Which, yeah, we're getting very
bogged
bogged down. Yeah, who knows? If it works for you, it works for you, and all power to you. Please let us know what you thought of this story if you picked it up in the comments below. And let us know what season 7 story on TV is your favourite and which season 7 story on audio is your favourite down in the comments below. And till the next video, we'll see you all next time.
Bye bye.